Places, please. Places for the top of Theater Countdown.
Woo! The hills are alive with the sound of countdowns. But what countdowns? It's Theater Countdown, and we're back! Back again with a hot, fresh, tasty new season. Hi, everybody. It's me, your Broadway buddy, Ben Cameron. And yeah, Theater Countdown is back. So you can relax your shoulders. You can massage out your jaw. Do some of those things that we learned in theater school. Give it a little and you're warm and ready to go for another season. Yes, this is our season 2 premiere, my good friends. We're thrilled to be back. I have missed counting things down. I have nearly forgotten how to count entirely, so this is going to be very helpful for me and anybody who's trying to tell me what order things are in. I want to tell you a little bit about season 1. Season 1, we really did create such an incredible global family with this show, and it's kind of boggles the mind when I look at these stats. That's right, friends, we've got stats. We have theater lovers from over 23 countries listen in on our show through season 1. I didn't even know there were 23 countries out there. I'm excited to find out if there are more. Some of the countries that you're listening in: India, Japan, Australia, Germany, New Zealand, Switzerland. The list goes on and on for 16 more. Our family truly is global, and we think of this as a family. So theater friends, theater nerds, theater enthusiasts, however you identify, welcome home. We're excited to chat with you each and every week. Here is the big skinny, the big announcement. Dun, 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 dun. This season, we have a brand new co-host, which we're very, very excited about. Feel free to applaud wildly into your device. Unless you're driving, then keep your hands on the wheels, you monster. Michael Judson Bay!
Hello! I'm going to applaud for myself because I'm not driving.
Listen, if we don't ovate ourselves, who will ovate us? Do you know what I'm saying?
This is so true. Also, I've never thought about saying it as ovate ourselves. I really enjoy that. Because at first it sounds a little like, and then you're like, oh, no, that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. It would be a good thing either way you interpret it. And I don't know your sick, filthy, dirty mind, but feel free.
They're just those words. It's like when you hear masticate, you're like, what? Oh, I'm just chewing.
Yeah. I'm a masticator from way back.
I've been
Although I
my
do
whole life,
primarily love
private.
Yeah. That's on our Patreon. No, nobody wants the Patreon.
But thank you. I'm so excited to be here and to be called a big skinny. That's high praise indeed. But yeah, I'm such a fan, and I used to work for TKTS, which we're going to get into this, where I was surrounded by Broadway nerds, and I haven't worked there in a while, and I miss geeking out with Broadway people. So I'm just so excited to be here and to just get to nerd out at you.
Please nerd out at me, nerd out at all of us with gusto. We do want to send our best and our love out to last year's co-host, who is doing very fancy things on Broadway as the associate director of The Notebook, which is opening on Broadway this season. So, good Shirls, we're wishing you all the best and love you. We're so happy to have you here, Michael. Let's see, Michael.
Thank you.
I feel like we can go. I'm thinking there needs to be some cool name. You know how J HUD is a thing. I feel like you need to be Mike Judd or M Judd?
Well, on social media, I'm at M Judson Berry, and a lot of people think my name is M Judson, which I think is people on the street been like, oh my god, it's M Judson, and I'm like, interesting. It doesn't even have a great ring. I had an old voice teacher who used to call me Juddy, but that's not fun J.
What are you talking about? That is so fun.
Juddy?
I'm desperate to call you Juddy.
Okay, well then
may
I can be Juddy on here, sure.
You will tell me your limits.
Oh, no, you can call me really most anything.
Okay,
and
Juddy.
I'll probably respond.
Okay, Juddy, we gotta introduce you all proper. You're making your debut with us here. So, in my show, Broadway Sessions in New York City, which you should all be coming to whenever you're in town at the Green Room 42 on 42nd and 10th, we do a game with our Broadway stars, and we like to get to know them intimately through our scientifically formulated list of 20 questions, which may or may not actually equal 20. As I mentioned, my counting skills have waned in the past couple months. But I want you to answer these questions for all of us as quickly and honestly as you care to. Are you ready to take this on?
Yes.
I really think we need some Julie Andrews getting to know you music for this. All right.
Oh, always. Yes.
Here we go. Juddy, who is your favorite male singer of all time?
Sammy Davis Jr.
Oh, God, you're good. Favorite female singer of all time?
Oh, that's such a tough one. Judy Garland.
You're in the right place,
because
mister.
I'm 95 years old. It's fine.
Two gay guys living old lady lives. What's your favorite musical of all time?
My favorite. Oh, this one's rough. 9.
9. Oh, you're a deep, fascinating well of experience and taste. What's your favorite cocktail to enjoy when you enjoy a cocktail?
A Manhattan. I call them Manhappys.
That's adorable. Okay. What has been your least favorite job in the arts? I'm looking for like terrible conditions, crazy costumes. When have you been pushed to the limits in an artistic realm?
This is tough because the one that objectively would be the worst experience was also ironically one of the most fun experiences because it was like so crazy it flipped around to fun. It was an original musical called Some People Hear Thunder, and it was about the Armenian genocide. And it was just like this
a real toe tapper.
It was written by a lawyer. It was and who was the sweetest man, and it was done with the best of intentions. But like, but this will be the experience from that. So they were rewriting it constantly, and the only person who actually had the full score was our music director because he had to rewrite every single song to make it like singable. And every night we would perform to like 10 people. This was like the out of town like pre-Broadway tryout, and we had a day where all these Broadway investors came to see it, and of course that was the day that someone messed up the music director's binder, and we had this like 9-minute epic opening number that took place in Grand Central Station in 1914 with all these memory pieces. Anyway, the music was all over the map. No one knew what was going on because he didn't have the right music. We just started singing and no music came in. So, and then he was trying to play catch up, and the musicians only had their bits, so they were trying to play catch up. And so I think we as a cast changed keys about 14 times. One girl just burst into tears and started to cry because she didn't know what was going on. I was cracking up. My friend Jessica Walkenfuss was in the show. The two of us thought it was hilarious. I'm not describing it well, but it was one of those like actor nightmare moments where like somehow we all finished together in this big Les Mis moment, and the music just slowly petered out. It was crazy and sad, but at the same time like hilarious.
Let's be honest,
don't know if I described it well, but it was such a chaotic moment. I haven't thought about it since then. It's now just coming back to me. But
I feel like you've got such a limited time to hook people into any sort of musical based on genocide to really capture them. So if you don't know what the songs are,
that was a rough one.
We'll look for that soon. What dogs or cats? Which do you prefer?
Can I say both? Because I grew up with both.
I mean,
and any quadruped will do. Okay, so we'll just say dogs then, because they're better like cuddlers, I suppose.
They absolutely. Okay, great. What's your most often used exclamation? For example, "Oi" or "Eureka."
Huzzah! I love
huzzah.
Yes,
I love huzzah as well. Do you know there's a song from a musical that's called the song? Oh, what's it called? I think the show is called 2 by 2, and it's a musical about Noah's Ark. This is very, very old, right? This exists. And there's a song called The Golden Ram. And I found it in like a vocal selections book. And with Huzzah, the very first few bars of the song is just this long held out, Huzzah, forever and ever. They just start the song with Huzzah and then go on to sing about the Golden Ram, which I just think is hilarious.
Oh my God, that sounds like my theme song. Also, why has Liza Minnelli never covered that? Because how wonderful would that be? She just goes, Huzzah! Like, it just holds her breath.
Yeah. Could be Huzzah!
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 Yeah, I
Starbucks
was
and
at,
Dunkin' Donuts. Oh, go. Yeah,
oh,
go.
I was in a musical called Huzzah. That also another one of those didn't make it to Broadway, but did the
Wait,
workshops.
with Larry O'Keefe's?
Yes. With
Yeah,
Jennifer,
I've heard
I did
music
it at
from that.
Williamstown. It's so good about a bunch of people working at a Renaissance fair. And
Yes.
if you're a producer listening to this, call them up and it needs to go to Broadway. I played the Dancing Bear, and that was like a dream. I was like, I want to make my Broadway debut as the Dancing Bear.
Okay, so Larry O'Keefe performed 2 songs from Huzzah at my Broadway sessions a few years back, and he described the whole thing, and then he talked about how it was like a metaphor for like the political state of the world in like a
But in a very funny way. Like it was honestly,
Yeah.
it's one of the funniest musicals I've ever been a part of.
And if you don't know who Larry O'Keefe is, listeners, we're talking Bat Boy, Legally Blonde, Heathers. Like, okay, Broadway producers get into it. Huzzah.
Anyway, sorry,
and Dunkin'
Starbucks.
Donuts.
Starbucks.
Starbucks? Great. Golden Girls or Sex in the City?
Golden Girls.
Duh, obviously. Gypsy, Merman, Peters, Lupone, Daly, Midler from the TV movie, Lansbury, Russell, Betty Buckley did it in New Jersey. Make your choice.
Oh my God, this is rough. Okay, so it would be a tie. So I grew up with the Bette Midler Gypsy. I saw it when it first came out. I was in first grade, and I remember I got in trouble. I went to Catholic school, and Sister Helen Ann I remember she'd call my mother and be like, "Why is your first grader drawing strippers?" And because I thought they were just fun, colorful women. And I did not know at the time that that was inappropriate for a first grader, but I loved the strippers. So the Bette Midler Gypsy will always have a special place in my heart. But also the London one, which now I'm blanking on her name. Who opened it recently in London? She's on The Crown. She's tiny and scary.
Imelda Staunton.
Imelda Staunton. I saw Imelda Staunton do it, and it was, her Mama Rose was terrifying. She was so good.
This is what I've heard. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Sondheim or Andrew Lloyd Webber?
Sondheim.
Okay, I can't even. Like the greatest faux pas I've made in the history of the theater countdown is when we counted down our favorite composers of all time, and I put Lloyd Webber ahead of Sondheim, and I'm still getting raw cabbage thrown at me on the streets, and I just want everyone to know that I know.
The heart wants. Listen, I did Joseph 3 times. I will not knock him. Yeah.
Who doesn't like a mega mix? You can't do a mega mix of Anyone Can Whistle. All right. But if you did, 3 things you couldn't live without if you were stranded on a desert island.
Ooh, that I couldn't live without. Why is it the first thing that popped into my head was a bacon cheeseburger? But I think it's usually people say, "What would you eat?"
And I'm going to go ahead and give you that on this desert island that you live in perpetuity, that you have unlimited bacon cheeseburgers.
Oh, okay, great. So I'm all set. What could I not live without? I guess my phone, but only just so I can play Wordle every day because it's part of my morning routine. So just a way in which I could play Wordle. I would want the book A Gentleman in Moscow, and I would just read it sort of on loop because it's such a beautiful story.
I don't know this book.
A Gentleman in Moscow. It's so good. Highly recommend. They're turning it into a TV series, I think, right now with Ewan McGregor. And
all right.
What else would I want? This is
That's it.
deodorant.
You got 3.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. Cool. You don't need. You're gonna have burger fingers as it is. Your hands are gonna smell like cheeseburgers all the time. So deodorant's not gonna help you. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, I never do karaoke. But the last time I did it was Put a Spell on You, but the Hocus Pocus arrangement. Because it's short and everyone knows it and sings along.
I just did a whole skit of that in a full Winifred Sanderson costume on the big gay Atlantis cruise that was on Halloween. So amazing. I'm fully with you. What's your favorite show tune? Gun to head.
Lily's Eyes just popped into my head.
Wow.
Only recently because I've been listening to the one where it's Kelly O'Hara and Audra McDonald. I don't know. I just keep putting that on in my car and singing along with them, and it's really fun.
They sing Lily's Eyes? What is this?
They did it. Broadway miscast.
Oh, okay.
And one of the best parts of this YouTube video, so they option up at the end and watching all the men behind them who have sung that song freak out. I think it's Raul Esparza is losing his mind.
Right, because in this cast, doesn't the rest of the cast sit on stage in stools?
It's just all the different performers, and then Kelly O'Hara and Audra. Kelly, it looked like it's just me, Kelly. Audra comes out and sort of crashes Kelly's song, and then they do Lily's Eyes, and it's amazing. Chris, could you actually play a little bit of it for me right now? Because I love it so much.
Right now, I'm freaking out. Gayer than I was at the end of this than when it began. Yes. That's
You're welcome.
Unbelievable. Okay. What is your proudest childhood, high school theatrical achievement?
My proudest theatrical achievement, Oliver, when I was 8 years old, and I was the understudy, and I went on with almost no rehearsal. I broke my finger doing the show, and the show went on, and I got a standing ovation, and the producer came over the intercom after and said that I was better than the normal kid, Will McAuliffe. No offense, Will, he was lovely, but he was 12 and I was 8, and I rose to the occasion. It was great. I will never forget that.
I am desperate to know, for everybody who's listening, I need a full count on our socials of how many of you have been in a production of Oliver in your lifetime.
I know, right?
I'm betting dollars to donuts that it's most everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's done Annie and Oliver at some point in their life. I don't know if that was 20 questions, but that's it. Now we know you a little bit better, Juddy.
That was fun.
Oh, okay. Now tell us a little bit more while we're grueling you and giving you the fifth degree.
The fifth degree, the third. Well, some degree. 6 degrees of separation.
5 degrees of interrogation.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about, I know that you have a wildly popular Instagram, TikTok presence, and I know that there's some Moira Rose involved with that. Tell the people what's going on here.
Yes. So I was an actor for many, many years. I went back and forth between acting and casting. It was always entertainment. And then during, I don't know why I decided to say it like that.
Oh, no, I'm glad you did. That was the way to say it.
My life was entertainment. I just bounced between the coasts. When I was
sometimes it doesn't even matter what kinds of entertainment. I just want people to be happy.
No, literally. If I was not in something, I was walking down the street and I said, "Hello, Kazam!" And people were like, "Get away from me!" And I'm like, "But I did something for you today. I gave you a story."
Why did my heart tell me that you walked up to people on the street and said, "Cosette," which would be even more jarring.
Oh,
you
it
really
would
know
be.
who you were talking to.
That's true. So during lockdown, the world shut down as it did for everybody, and I had been told right before, I was doing a lot of improv, and right before lockdown I was doing an improv jam, and this girl came on and she was like, "Welcome to Sephora, ma'am," and I don't know why, but Moira Rose popped into my head. And I'd just been Schitt's Creek. And I was like, "Oh, I know, dear, I work here. It's a dark day indeed." And I did the sketch where it was Moira was the manager of a Sephora. And a lot of people were like, that was very funny and spot on. And it just became people coming in asking for makeup advice and me just saying horrible things to them. Just being like, "What's your name, darling? Because you seem like you're very oily, dear." So when we went into lockdown, I had this idea. I was like, how funny would it be how would Moira Rose react to being in lockdown? And my roommate at the time had a wig from a Halloween costume. So I plopped a wig on my head, sat in my kitchen, and just monologued as Moira into my camera and then posted it. And a couple of friends thought it was funny, so I did it again. And then that second one popped off. And I knew nothing about social media. I lived my life in grandpa sweaters. I could barely turn my phone on, let alone use it. And then all of a sudden I had this sort of semi-viral thing, and it became my lockdown project. And it was weirdly very cathartic. I would write sketches based on how I was feeling, the things I was dealing with in lockdown, but how would Moira Rose or the Rose family talk about this?
Yeah.
So that just became this sort of unexpected quote unquote viral sensation, which now that lockdown's over, it's still somehow going. I did the Rose family reaction to the Barbie movie, and Moira was like, why was I not in the Barbie movie? I'll be in the Broadway production of Barbie the musical. So that's a little bit about me. The most popular one, most people know me from doing with Moira Rose, who's the voice of your GPS. That was sort of my big one, which was...
Wait, give me a little bit of that.
Oh my God. I was shooting a commercial in Pennsylvania, and I just drove around to town and narrated it. But it was just in 300 feet to make a left, Right near that, you'll see a rather dowdy inn. Don't pay attention to it, and for certain, do not check in there. Just drive on past. Something to that effect. But yeah, so that's me. So yeah, that's sort of my social media thing.
Just have a whole idea for we need a segment on the show that needs to be the Moira Rose show tune dramatic reading. I think there needs to be a small part. Let's start right now with The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow. Let's go. Putting you on the spot.
The sun will come out. When will it come out? Tomorrow. So you bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun.
I love it. Bravo.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Well, she was in the original cast of Starlight Express, so she's also an Andrew Webber fan. No, the character of Moira Rose.
Was she? That was in the. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, and she understudied Patricia Lapone in what was it, the Patty Hearst musical? I think she says.
Oh my God, this makes me very glad.
Yeah.
Okay, you started to mention a little bit earlier, and I love this as you do a lot of things, casting and acting and improv and social media influencing. But I'm very interested in your time working in Times Square for TKTS. Tell us about that.
Yes, that was my day job for, I want to say, like 6 or 7 years. And it was the best actor day job ever. So my job, basically, if you've been to Times Square, you've seen the big red steps. Underneath there's a box office where you get the half-price tickets or discounted theater tickets through the Theater Development Fund. Lovely nonprofit, go support them. So our job, there's a group of us, we were the red coats because we always wear red, and we were basically paid to go see all the Broadway and off-Broadway shows that we sold and then just stand there and be nerds. So there were flyer people who would promote the shows, and for us, the wonderful thing is we didn't work for one specific show, we just were sort of your go-to nerd. And so people would stand in line forever, and a lot of tourists come to New York not knowing what's playing. You know, they're like, do you have Phantom Kings? And you're like, that's two different, that's The Lion King and The Phantom of the Opera. Those are two different shows. And Lion King never discounts, so you're going to go see Phantom. But it was really fun because I would talk to people who had come just have no idea what was on Broadway, and we would just sort of talk through and find them the perfect show. And it was really fun.
Did you find yourself like really putting your heart into what you would try to recommend that they see, like something maybe they hadn't heard of?
Oh, always. Because my feeling is that like a lot of these people, this is sort of their first experience seeing a Broadway show. A lot of them never see theater at all, and so the very like the side of me that was like, I'm gonna make a difference, was like if they come and they see the perfect Broadway show, when they go home to wherever they're from, they'll support their regional shows or their community theater, because they'll go home and being like, wow, theater is actually really great. Like, you know, I've never heard of this show, of Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. But he was right. That red coat guy was right, and this was perfect, and I can't wait to go and see more shows. You know, so I really put a lot of thought and work into this when I was talking with people. I really, really wanted to find like just the right show for them.
And they can go home
it was really fun.
Tell all their friends that they saw a Broadway.
Yeah, they saw a Broadway, and it wasn't what they expected. And I would often have like tourists come back, and they'd be like, I remember you. Like, I saw that one show, and I was only going to see one show to say I did, but I loved it so much, now I want to see another one. So that was always really, really gratifying. It was fun.
I love that. I love that so much. And TDF's a hell of a thing. And I have stood in that line so many, many, many times. I used to get so excited to go stand in that line when I was young, or, you know, even when I first moved to the city, and I got to the city in 1996. And I would go there whenever I had a moment and get in line and devour the screen of what was there at 50% off. And I love that.
It's great. Yeah, it's fun.
Well,
and the characters, just people are magical. Some of the things people would say are just great.
Sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a great big hug. Welcome, Juddy, to the program.
Thank you. What a lovely program.
I think we're going to be fast friends.
Oh, good.
Oh, I do so hope.
Me too.
Friends, if you want to follow us on social media, and gosh darn it, I hope that you do, you've got to follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We're at Theater Countdown. That's theater with an R-E, because we're very hoity-toity. You can follow us. You can watch full episodes of our show on YouTube. That's youtube.com/countdownnetwork. And then, of course, you can follow me on social media. I need the follows desperately. I'm Ben Does Broadway on all platforms. And Juddy, you are...
M. Judson Berry at all platforms, except for on X where I'm M. Judson Berry 1, because I created a Twitter account a long time ago that I can't remember how to access. So
Right, isn't that the worst? Do you know what? I can no longer access. I have two Facebook accounts, and I can't access one of them unless it's on my phone. Because if I try to do it on my computer, it's like password. That's not the right password, and I know that it is. So it always stays logged in on my phone. So I can. It's very strange.
Thank you. I feel seen.
Yeah, the nerd in me sees the nerd in you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
If you'd like to connect with us and other theater obsessed people like you from around the world, I'm going to tell you how to do it. You can do it via Patreon for only $5 a month, Juddy. Only $5 a month. You know what that'll get you at Starbucks? Nothing.
Literally.
It'll get you the evil eye.
Maybe a cheese stick.
Oh, they do have those, but you're not going to get a whole protein box.
Absolutely not.
No way, no. Or nor a cake pop, I suggest. But for $5, you can get you'll get early access to all of our episodes. You'll be part of a private Facebook group. You'll get special welcome gifts straight from our hot little hands into your lives. And this is what I'm most excited about. We're going to start doing virtual hangs with Juddy and myself, where we're going to get together every month and meet you in cyberspace. And we're going to play theater games, and we're going to hear your experiences. And it's going to be a theater kid party extravaganza, penguin race, dog adoption service, shit show. It's going to be amazing. So join us on Patreon for all of that. The hangs are what I'm particularly interested in for that. So that's only $5 a month. Support us, and you're also going to get bonus episodes as well. Also, rating and reviewing our show helps us an awful lot. You can rate and review. It helps ensure that more people find the show and join our community that we're all building together. And remember, we will read your reviews on the show, and that's a cool way for you, our listeners, to get a shout out. Heck, we even read the negative reviews, so bring it on. And by that I mean, I don't want you to say Ben's voice makes me want to go play in traffic. I'm more gonna read like Ben's an idiot, and he said that Android Weber was better than Sondheim, and I need the world to know that he is a subhuman. I'd be happy to read that on the air for you, Juddy. I'm sure
those are hilarious. Oh yeah,
I can't wait. You ever see that when like they do that? Which late night show it is where they have the celebrities read meme tweets about themselves?
Yes. Oh, it's so good.
Funny. We're up for that. So
God.
Bring it on.
When you said the dog adoption, a friend and I have a thing that we thought, I don't know how we came up with this, but because we love, plosives. We were like Patti LuPone. We were like Patti LuPone's Puppy Patrol. And we thought how funny if you lost a puppy and this was Patty's job after she decided to not be a Broadway actor anymore. She's like, Patti LuPone's Puppy Patrol. Did you lose a puppy? I'm Patti LuPone and I'll find your puppy. And this hilarious image of Patti LuPone.
Private Eye.
Private Eye, just like wandering around Central Park being like, where's your puppy? Like, anyway. I don't know why she just became Cruella de Vil, but
she should be. She is. Oh, but that's a Glenn Close Patty thing, and that gets real dicey real quick.
God, that'll get us some fun reviews.
That gets us back to the Glenn Close Memorial Swimming Pool in Patti LuPone's backyard. We are starting, and that's all a little Sunset Boulevard history for those of you who may not know. We are on the verge, Juddy, of Broadway's spring season. The new shows are coming. They're hitting the boards. There is an epic amount of new shows coming down the pike, in like so many so that I don't know that I even have a real handle on everything that's going to be opening this spring. So it's January now, but I know, as we mentioned, The Notebook is coming. Water for Elephants is coming. The Great Gatsby is coming.
Lempicka
is coming. Listen, I was at, not to sound hoity-toity, I was recently at the Wicked 20th anniversary gala party because I was in the original cast. If you're just joining us for the very first time, listen to your cast album, track 2, you'll hear a voice say, Glinda, is it true you were her friend? That's me. Pull that out of parties. You know that guy. In fact, let's play that right now, shall we, Chris?
Glinda, is it true you were her friend?
Well, it depends on what...
That's right. One line on a Broadway cast album, and I get 2 tiny residual checks a year to this day. But listen, it's a plot pivotal line. If she
It
says
is.
no, curtain, it's over. Anyway, we were at the
I want to
party,
see
and
that version.
yeah, right? It's like, how fast can you end a show? Are you blind when you're born? No, curtain, right? It's just over. But I saw Eden, and at the party, and I was like, girl, let's do this. Let's get you your Tony Award. It's time. That video is out now for the song Woman Is, that's from Lempicka, that Eden Espinosa is starring in, and it is outrageous. It is,
yeah.
it is, she likes a vocal pyrotechnic,
Oh, yeah.
Eden Espinosa. So that's coming down the pike. What else is happening?
I'm trying to think. When does speaking of Sunset Boulevard, the West End production is coming. Is that
Right,
this
Nicole-
season or is that
Yeah.
next season? And then Cabaret.
Oh.
Speaking of London transfers, Cabaret is coming with Eddie
Cabaret
Redmayne.
with Eddie Redmayne. That's a thrilling clip. If you watch those clips from like the
Olivier Awards.
the Olivier Awards, that when she does Cabaret, it is wild.
It's so unhinged and magical.
Yeah, it really is. It's very exciting. We
So-
want to know what all of you are most excited to see on Broadway coming down the pike here in the next couple months, because it is chock full.
Yeah.
of
And
exciting
already
stuff,
open. We have Harmony. We have How to Dance in Ohio.
which I am seeing. I'm very
Nice.
excited about it.
That was
and then
my
I've got the-
producing debut was How to Dance in Ohio.
Oh,
I'm a producer on that show.
congratulations!
Thank you.
You
and I'm so proud.
producer
It's such,
Danny.
yes, and I'm so proud because it started in my hometown. It started in Syracuse. So it's
Oh,
where
it
they
did?
did their out of town at Syracuse Stage. And so I was very proud that it was a hometown show. So I was very, very, very excited to be a part of it. And it's just, I've seen it multiple times, obviously, and it makes me audibly weep in all the best ways every single time. So yeah, that's my little plug for How to Dance in Ohio. But it's honestly really beautiful. I'm very proud of it.
Well, I'm excited to weigh in after I get a chance to see it this week. I'm very excited. Also, Shucked just closed, so we're talking about the openings. But Shucked just closed. Did you see Shucked?
Yes. That's my kind of humor. That like I grew up listening to old radio shows on NPR, like like My Favorite Husband that I Love Lucy's based on. Where it's all those wonderful sort of like snappy one-liners, and I feel like Shucked was just like chock full of those. And I can't remember the last time I laughed that hard at a show. I loved it.
It was relentless in its hilarity.
Yes.
Like you couldn't catch your breath after your last laugh before you were hit with another corn zinger.
Yeah.
But also, the music's just great.
So good.
It's
so
full of
good.
earworms. And Alex Newell, that was outrageous. So.
I didn't get to see Alex. I saw
Nikki.
yes, who was
Mickey Abraham.
wonderful. Who was absolutely wonderful, I will say.
Alex, yeah, Mickey is amazing. Alex, it's just wild that voice can do absolutely anything.
Oh, yeah.
But at the closing night of Shucked, they announced not only the tour we knew was going out, but then they announced that it's already in the works that Shucked the musical is going to be a film.
Yes. And I can't wait to see how they do that because I feel like it was so like the audience, I felt like a character in the show, if that makes sense. It felt like such a collaborative theatrical experience between the audience and the cast. So I'm really curious to see how they translate that to film.
I think the sky's the limit because it's so zany that I think you can really play with what world you put that in.
Yeah. I'm so excited to see what they do.
Yeah, that's very cool. Which is very interesting, and I've just got to get on my soapbox for a second about this. That the fact that they've announced this, they're doing this musical, they're making the film of the musical. Have you noticed that in all of the musicals that are happening in cinemas right now, Mean Girls, Willy Wonka, or Wonka, whatever, and there's one other one. Oh, The Color Purple.
Yeah.
They have deliberately, and this is where this is the soapbox, and I'm gonna be filled with rage. They are deliberately marketing these films without the music attached to it. They're marketing these films as if they're not musicals because in whatever clickbait articles I've read, they say that people are turned off by the genre, and so they're literally trying to trick people into coming to see these movies that are musicals.
Really?
Mean Girls in particular. Yeah, if you've noticed, you've never seen an ad for the Mean Girls movie where they're in full song.
That That's a really good point. And even the Color Purple
And
ads,
even the
I
Color
remember
Purple
like
even.
it didn't actually look like a musical in the trailer.
You'll see like little clips of dance things, and you'll maybe see, but you don't see Fantasia standing and belting out "I'm here." It's really interesting.
That's a good.
And
I
then
hadn't thought about that.
and then I saw another article that said that some research they'd done in the Mean Girls movie is that 75% of people leaving the theater knew it was a musical coming in
Okay.
and loved it, and 16% of people who have gone to this film had no idea it was a musical and were very disappointed when they sat down and they started getting sung at. And to that I say poo poo.
I
Poo-poo,
would
I
say that too. That's another thing you used to say to people on the street. Poo poo.
Paddle puppy patrol.
Puppy patrol. Poo poo.
Come here,
that's-
poo poo.
I found
That's
the
the
poo
puppy
poo.
she's-
That's the first step in finding a puppy is finding its poo poo. Anyway.
I found the poo poo.
I saw a couple of musicals that were poo-poo as well. I don't know why my version of Patti LuPone is just a bad 1940s announcer, like at a racetrack. Anyway.
At a racetrack. And puppies are coming in the
That is coming on. I have many Tony Awards. That's so interesting because if, like, even Color Purple, did you see the movie yet?
I
The
did.
Color Purple?
I did see Color
I
Purple.
mean, that opens with a big all musical number. So if you didn't know that was a musical, you're going to find out real fast.
Real fast and real hard. And the opening number is spectacular. The choreography is amazing.
I loved it.
It's very interesting. And I'm seeing Mean Girls soon as well. I haven't seen it yet, but I have listened to the movie soundtrack, and it's very interesting. I was really kind of into the way they rearranged some of the music.
Okay.
So when you see it, we'll talk about it more. Because
Confession, I never saw it on Broadway. I haven't even heard the soundtrack. I know, which isn't that
you haven't?
terrible? Yeah. I'm
Shame.
feeling, so I'll
Shame.
find it somewhere. Listen, Hannah Waddingham, come down.
He knows his stuff, my friends. What do you all think about that? What do you think about movie musicals being promoted as non-musical movies? It's making me upset in my heart, and I think there's something we can do about it, and I don't know what it is, but you'll tell me, and I'll facilitate it.
What can I ask you? What musical do you want to be? What musical would you like to see being made into a movie next?
Oh my God!
Like, or is there one you're dying? You're like, I know this movie adaptation. I can see it in my head. It needs to happen.
Oh my stars and garters! No, the answer to that is I don't know. I'm gonna think about that and let you know at the end of the episode.
Okay.
Because otherwise, I'll do this for the next 15 minutes.
You speak French?
Oui. That's the other thing you have to find before you find the puppy is the wee wee.
Oui.
Oui and the puppy.
I just want Ang Lee to make the movie adaptation of Light in the Piazza.
Oh, okay. Now you're talking dirty. This
Right?
is good.
That was I feel like I saw Brokeback and I was like, you know what he needs to do next is Light in the Piazza before
absolutely.
Victoria Clark can still do it.
Right, and we all know that Brokeback Mountain is also a musical now.
Yeah.
With Mike Feist, which I'm desperate to see that as well. That's got to be coming to Broadway at some point too, right?
I think
you would
so.
think.
Yeah.
That's heavy. All right. I feel the need to play. I want to play.
You wanna
Chris, I want to play. I want to play a game. I want to play. Do you, Juddy? Do you want to play?
Sorry,
Play a
I
game.
do. I was just I was really enjoying watching you just keep saying I want to play over and over.
Play.
It felt like a therapy exercise, like or an acting class. You know,
Or a Meisner exercise.
I want
You're just
to
gonna
play.
play.
I want to play.
I want to play.
I will
Or the
go
one
to
where we-
Moscow.
Where we have to say it back and forth to each other, and it has to be different each time.
No,
I
this
want
where
to play.
I want to play. No, we need to be back to back and just feeling the vibrations through each other's bodies as we say it.
Okay, wait, hold on. I'm twisting my butt.
Okay, turn around.
I want to play.
I want to play.
I
No,
want to play.
I want.
This is awful.
This
stop
is
it.
terrible.
Let's play a game.
Yes, let's do it. It'll be more fun.
time. Chris, how do we play? We want, as you know, I want to play.
He wants to play. Won't you let him play, please?
Today's game is a brand new game. We've never played it before in Theater Countdown or in any Countdown podcast for that matter.
Wow.
We're calling it Theater Filibuster. And the way it works is I'll give you a theater-related topic, and we'll see if you can talk about it for 30 seconds without faltering.
Oh my God.
And we'll go back and forth for a few rounds to test your abilities to coherently ramble on about theater stuff.
Wait, it has to be coherent?
Yeah,
Because
it
I
has
don't know
to
if
be
I can
coherent.
guarantee that. I can give you 30
That's where it
seconds.
gets tricky.
And also, I kind of want to play this one a little looser. So if in between rounds, someone says something that you want to talk about, this is a good opportunity to also kind of tangent off on the other things, like if
To
say
be
Patty LaPone
tangential.
or yeah. So feel free that this is a very loose game. Some of the games will be much more strict, and I will not have any talk back in between the rounds. But this one is different.
Thanks for easing me in with the loose game.
Theater filibuster.
Okay.
Juddy, you're going first because you've already admitted to improv training. So
Okay. And
You're
I'm
going
famous
first.
for a lot of things, but being succinct is not one of them. So
I'm also gonna give you a topic specifically to talk about, so it won't just
Okay.
be randomly.
all right.
I would love for you to talk about Patrick Page for 30 seconds.
Oh my God.
wait, who's Patrick Page again?
Oh,
Hadestown,
I'll go
Hadestown.
first then.
You go first.
Because I can do Patrick Page for
Okay,
weeks.
great. Cool.
Then Patrick Page.
Patrick
and your
Page.
time starts right now.
Patrick Page is one of our greatest Broadway actors. He's equally at home on stage in a Shakespearean classic or in his one-man show playing off-Broadway right now in All the Devils Are Here, where he takes you through the history of Shakespeare's villains. He is known for his signature low and grumbling voice. He's originated the roles of the Grinch in the Grinch musical. Of course, we know him as Hades in Hadestown. He was the Green Goblin in the Spider-Man musical, which may or may not be spoken about later on in our countdown, which is all about flops today. And he is a good friend of mine, and I always make him play a fun game at Broadway sessions.
That was it.
When is he going to play Elphaba? He's played green people a lot.
He has. Green is an ongoing theme.
I would love his Elphaba.
I'm defying gravity.
Like, it would be great.
It's the wizard who should be afraid of me.
You have to wait. You know what? Actually, into that, Chris, I need you. We're gonna play a little bit of Patrick Page doing a spoken word to Popular from Wicked right now.
And with an assist from me to be who you'll be instead of a dreary who you are. There's nothing that could stop you from being popular. I feel we should quit while we're ahead.
All right. Phew.
That was amazing.
Moving on.
Well done.
Round one done. Okay.
Done.
Wait,
So
are there
Juddy?
points? Is this like whose line? Is there a winner, or are we
here's
just...
the fun part. I don't like keeping score of any of these games, so
Great.
everyone's a winner.
I'm happy to award the points. I just got I just earned 16 points.
16 points. That's fair.
And I'll let you know how many you get after this, Juddy.
Great. This bodes real well for me.
Okay, so, Michael, I would love for the next 30 seconds if you could talk about the Gershwin Theater. And that starts right now.
The Gershwin Theater. Okay, so the first thing I ever saw in the Gershwin Theater was Riverdance. And that was really fun. So I had a friend, when I was a kid, we had a kid from Northern Ireland come stay with us. And my uncle was living in New York at the time, and we came down and we were taking him to his first Broadway show. And Music Man was on Broadway, all these great shows. He wanted to see Riverdance. We were like, what? The next show I saw there was Oklahoma with Patrick Wilson. Oh my God. But yeah, I love that theater. It's so massive and wonderful. Obviously, Wicked. So good. Great theater.
Do you know what's funny? Going in when we were moving Wicked into the Gershwin Theater, I had several friends who, in a very hoity-toity kind of like actory way, were like, I don't know why they're moving to the Gershwin. That theater is the kiss of death. Nothing ever lasts at the Gershwin. It's just too cavernous, and it's too far off the beaten path because it lives in that weird vestibule,
Yeah.
right, where the theater isn't facing towards the street, right, but that encircled in the square, and they were like, it's the kiss of death. It wasn't.
Yeah, no, I'd say Wicked did okay. It's doing all right.
Doing all right. That was great, Michael. That's 15 points for you.
15 points.
Thanks. I'm hanging in there.
A little harsh, but I think you could have done a little better. Okay. So then
next.
next one is for Ben, right?
I suppose.
I think so too. So for the next 30 seconds, I would love for you to talk about theater district post-show eating options.
Ooh, yay.
And that starts right now.
There are so many great options to dine after you see a show on Broadway. As we all know, New York City is the city that never sleeps. So finding a restaurant at around 11 o'clock is much easier than you think. There's a lot of great eateries around, famous eateries like Carmine's, Virgil's Barbecue. You can always hobnob with some of the best and brightest after they've gotten off stage at theater hangs like the Glass House Tavern, where you're bound to see somebody who you may have just seen on stage enjoying some of their signature risotto balls. You can also pop into any of the USA Brooklyn delis or just grab a hot dog off the street. Nothing's more New York than that. Eat up, my friends. We love it.
You've done that before.
That was a commercial for eating and Times Square, and it only got me 12 points.
Oh, wow. Well, because you didn't say Joe Allen's, because this is the Broadway flop episode, and Joe Allen's is sort of a little famous for that.
Yeah, I should have said Joe Allen's. What an idiot I turned out to be.
Well, that's okay. That's why you only got 12 points.
I know. This point system is harsh.
I know. 12 out of a potential 18 question mark points.
I mean, it's strict. You got to play the game by the game's rules.
Do we have another one?
Here we go. Here's the next one. For the next 30 seconds, I would love for you to talk about Chicago.
So when I think of Chicago, the musical, I assume we're talking about, I think of my days back at TKTS. Now, you learn very quickly, like, what certain groups typically will go. And I learned that 9 out of 10 French tourists just want to see Chicago. And they come up and they go, you have Chicago? Chicago? Except for when Cats was on Broadway, then they wanted Gits. Gits or Chicago. So whenever I see the billboard of Chicago, the musical, the longest running American revival in history, right? I believe one of the longest running, I just hear Chicago.
You know what you know what also delights me?
What?
About Chicago? I love the girls speaking of being in Times Square, I love the girls in the red tights. There is nary a red tight or a red anything to be seen in the actual musical Chicago, but these ladies are strutting around in their 1-inch character heels, those opaque red tights and a bowler hat. Getting you to go see
sub-zero weather. And so they also were at TKTS all the time, and what's hilarious is they have to stay in character when they're handing out flyers. So everyone else is like, go see this show, it's great. And they just go, ha-cha, as you walk by and hand you a flyer. Which I think is so funny. And the best is tourists. And every hour or so, they put on all that jazz, and they do some of the choreography from the show. And people in line at TKTS thought they all were in the cast. And they'd be like, oh my God, are you going to be in the show tonight? Well, totally come see it. And every single one of them would be like, if I was in it, I would not be here.
But
yeah, I love those girls.
But I think that's got to be the point, right? The point has got to be that they want people to think, oh, I met the cast out front. They're running around Times Square.
But I just love when you're walking down the street and you just hear, whoopee, it's one of them trying to hand you a flyer.
Cicero.
Lipschitz.
What's Cicero?
That's another. It's a town in upstate New York where
it is. Yeah, the spread eagle.
Oh, and I'll give myself 13 points for that.
Oh,
13
wonderful.
points is solid. I would have done the same.
Yeah, thanks.
I think we all agree.
Yeah, I think everyone at home.
That was a 13-pointer.
That's a 13 answer for sure.
Pretty clear.
Yeah.
So for the final one, we've talked about her before. We talked about her in this episode. But I would love for the next 30 seconds if you could talk about Patti LuPone, and that starts right now.
Patti LuPone is a three-time Tony Award-winning actress who rose to stardom in 1978, starring as Evita in Evita, Eva Perón, which launched her superstardom. She also starred in The Baker's Wife, which is a little-known Stephen Schwartz musical that never quite made it to Broadway, but is famous for the song Meadowlark. We also saw her opposite Christina Ebersol in Warpaint, which is not obviously the greatest example. She won a Tony for the gender-bent company, and she also has a fabulous puppy searching service. That's what you need to know about Patti LuPone, and that got me 27 points, which means I won the game. Oh, well, I think we're all winners.
Thanks. Well, some of us are runners up, but we're happy there. It's okay.
That's an excellent segue. Speaking of runners up, this is gonna come into play in multiple ways, in really interesting ways in my list. It's time for our first countdown of the new season. I'm so excited. I could poop. We are starting off with our countdown this week is famous Broadway flops. Our top 10 Broadway flops. Juddy, what are you looking for in a Broadway flop?
I'm so excited.
To be part of your list.
Yes, so I'm not sure if I did this correctly. Again, this is my first time. So I tried to think of just flops that I personally had seen and personally enjoyed. So that's how I did my list. I went back through, I was thinking about all the shows, the many shows I've seen, and ones that, did not have a we're not financially successful. So, but I had a great time at them for whatever reason, or they have sentimental value to me for whatever reason.
Okay, so you're going for ones that you have seen and liked.
Yes.
And enjoyed.
Yes.
I think it's hard to kind of narrow down what constitutes a flop, because there are shows, I think, that are considered flops that had fairly robust runs comparatively to some shows that really flopped in the run department. But I think that the flop gets based too on expectations and investment, probably, of what we thought the show was supposed to do and then maybe didn't achieve that. It's kind of interesting to think of what flop means to people. As I was researching, and some lists that are out there online, there were things that were listed as like great flops in certain articles that had like 500 performances.
Yeah, I felt the same because I also did some, look up, Time Magazine's biggest flops of all time, things like that. And there were shows on there that I saw that was like, that flop, that's technically a flop, but it ran for a long time. And then you're right. There are other shows like my number 2, which I won't spoil what it is, but it ran for literally 3 performances, and it was one of the most fun theatrical experiences I've had. So but yeah, I was surprised that I was like, I guess it constitutes as a flop if it just lost a significant amount of money, I guess.
Yeah, I think we're gonna kind of run the gamut on what that is and what we want to shout out in our top 10 flops. Broadway flops of all time. I'll go first with your blessing.
Cool. I would yes, please. You're the experienced one here, so
here we go. We're counting
the
down.
Ingenue. Okay.
All right. In 10th for my Broadway flops, it's a musical from 1986 called Smile. Smile was a musical that was based on a movie, Smile, about rival beauty contestants in a pageant, which was kind of like a dark, acerbic kind of movie. But here's the kicker about it: the music in Smile was by Marvin Hamlish, who wrote Chorus Line, and featured lyrics by Howard Ashman, who, of course, we know went on to Little Shop of Horrors, who he had done actually before this, and wrote all of our the lyrics for all of the Disney movie musicals that we loved through the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, all of those. So they're kind of a really crazy dream team. But Smile ran a whopping 48 performances in 1986, just 40 performances. But of note about Smile, it starred an up-and-comer named Jodie Benson, who was working with the aforementioned Howard Ashman, and that is what led to Jodie Benson being the voice of Ariel in The Little Mermaid, was their collaboration on Smile. So I think because the reason this is in my list, obviously I've never seen it because in 1986 I was rocking back and forth in Orem, Utah, crying and reading my Les Mis.
Going, I want to play.
Reading my Les Mis lyric liner notes. But there's a couple great songs in there. But 48 performances is pretty floppy for something that has such a dream team involved. But I want us to listen to, this is one of my favorite songs, and this song gets a little bit of traction as an audition song, I think, and is just kind of out there of all the songs in the show. And it's a song called Disneyland, and is sung by Jodie Benson, and it's absolutely stunning. But Smile from 1986 is my number 10 flop. Let's listen to Jodie Benson with her first Howard Ashman moment, Disneyland.
Disneyland, gotta get to Disneyland on a western breeze, magic carpet, please carry me up. Gonna say the trees are paper mache, it's done with mirrors, the magic bear, each little bird's full of springs, you press a button, it sings, recorded music in the air. They've had the mountain refaced, it's only, I'll turn around and tell you.
Come on.
Oh.
But isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Jodie Benson singing a song about Disneyland, beating Howard Ashman, going on to be the voice of Ariel in The Little Mermaid.
Wow.
Jodie Benson, who also starting Crazy for You on Broadway and is a Broadway gal, but that's what she's legendary for. So it just seems like all the pieces were in place for this to be a really successful show with the right people behind it. And, you know, sometimes I think maybe a flop comes out of a stacked season where maybe there was a lot of offerings.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there are really slow seasons, and then we end up with the best musical winner that isn't even a musical contact. So it's a roll of the dice, right? So that's my number 10. Okay.
Ooh, now I'm like kind of rethinking mine on the spot because this is bet now. Okay. I think if we're saying Broadway flops real quick, just special shout out to Angela Lansbury for starring in 2 mega Broadway flops that also had amazing teams behind them.
Yeah.
So can number 10 just be Angela? I was going to say Bad Cinderella, but now I'm just changing it to Angela Lansbury. In Dear World and Anyone Can Whistle. Because if you think about... Oh, were those on your list?
No. Maybe, but go ahead.
Oh, okay.
No, it's fun if we have crossover, so be it.
Okay. Because now I'm changing mine. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to switch it then to my number 10 is going to be Dear World, which is a musical that starred Angela Lansbury. It opened in 1969 because it has that great song, I Don't Want to Know, which is that wonderfully, like, very Jerry Herman, so very repetitive. But when you listen to it, Angela Lansbury plays this sort of like, it's based on this play called The Mad Woman of Chaillot. I believe that's how you pronounce it. It's French. And I don't speak French. It opened February 6, 1969. It closed May 31st, 1969, after just 132 performances. But yeah, Jerry Herman, Angela Lansbury following the success of Mame. So you'd think this would have been like this mega hit, and it really didn't do well. But she has that great song that I Don't Want to Know. And it's like very Angela Lansbury, and that she starts out singing it like a normal human. And by the end, she just sounds completely unhinged. Which I think she does so well. Like her Rose's Turn from Gypsy, if you see that on YouTube, like she plays it like she's having a complete mental breakdown. I don't know if that's one, if you want to play a little bit of that, like, I Don't Want to Know for people who haven't heard of it. It's kind of an obscure song. But Angela Lansbury is, even just listening to the audio, you can see how great her performance was. And she still, I believe, won a Tony Award for this performance, even though the show closed very quickly.
I think you're right.
Yeah, actually, no, I'm looking up. She did. She won a Tony for it.
I think she did.
So yeah, I'm going to go with Dear World, but like 10 A and B. It's Dear World and Then Anyone Can Whistle, which was her Stephen Sondheim flop that closed after 9 performances, which again, you'd think that would be a great combo. Angela Lansbury, Stephen Sondheim, book by Arthur Lawrence, who wrote Gypsy, like this, and then it closed in 9 performances. Can you imagine?
No, I can't imagine. And yet it's true.
Yeah, and then there we are. Oh yeah, I Don't Want to Know.
If music is no longer lovely, if laughter is no longer lilting, if lovers are to know, if summer is no longer carefree, if children are no longer
singing if people are no longer happy. Truth from my eyes with the back of my hand, with my head in the sand. All are exciting my memories, all are enchanted my memories.
It goes, and then she just repeats it again. And you can almost see the handography. You know, Angela Lansbury had such long fingers, and the hands were always just kind of I remember the one time I met her and she shook my hand, and her fingers like went up to my elbow. But like, you know, her hands were always kind of all over the place when you could just see the handography to that, covering her eyes and then opening them back up again. Anyway.
Yeah. That's an excellent number 10. They revived that at City Center last year, and Donna Murphy played the role.
And perfect casting.
So I have seen the production. It is a completely insane show that you kind of go, what on earth is happening? How was this ever made? I'm going to back you up on this and give you one more Angela Lansbury flop. And I don't know if this counts, but Angela Lansbury did another musical, Gower Champion, directed and choreographed, Julie Stein, Bob Merrill situation that was called Pretty Belle. And that was Pretty Belle was in 1971, but Pretty Belle, the plot, we won't read it, but everybody look it up, is completely insane, and totally unhinged and not particularly delightful. But the rumor is it closed out of town. It opened in Boston, and was horribly reviewed and never made it into New York City. And 11 years after that, they made a cast album so the world could have it. So it never made it to Broadway, but the rumor was that it was like the performance of her career in Pretty Belle, where she was absolutely outrageously good in this horrible musical that was so bad it never even made it to Broadway, even with Julie Stein and Angela Lansbury.
I was going to say, and Gower Champion, talk about a dream team.
Right. But that's what's interesting when you're looking at flops, too. There's a lot of dream teams and a lot of really big names that that are attached to projects that just don't work. It's so interesting. There's an alchemy, right, to like what resonates with an audience. All right, number 9 for me. Okay. This is off the rails, and no, I haven't seen this, but as I was researching and look, I couldn't believe this exists. And not only could I not believe it exists, I need to tell you a little bit about it. There was in 1986 on Broadway a Raggedy Ann musical.
What?
And Raggedy Ann. Now, Raggedy Ann, for those of you who are quite young and beautiful and lovely, and you make me so mad, Raggedy Ann was like a doll in the 70s and 80s that everybody had. That was like a yarn doll with red yarn hair. And there's lots of like animated series about Raggedy Ann, and everybody had a Raggedy Ann, but they made it into a musical. And I want to just read what I have read about it to you, because I kind of can't believe this exists. In the annals of ill-conceived musicals, Raggedy Ann is a doozy. Let's see. So the writer Gibson drove into the backstory of the Raggedy Ann books, concentrating specifically on how author Johnny Gruelle wrote the stories while his daughter Marcella was dying from diphtheria.
Oh.
His book had a young girl named Marcella traveling to an enchanted world full of macabre imagery, which included the girl's mother committing suicide after abandoning her, a forest made from skeletons, and a character named the Doll Collector who tries to seduce the young child. It opened,
what?
Yeah. It opened in Albany. Anyway, they went through, it was so dark and weird, and then it went on to have a successful run. After it was in Albany, it had a successful run in Moscow.
What?
Because the Russians
Well,
loved
actually,
Dark
this sounds correct. They probably were like, oh, it's a musical with the Bone Forest. This sounds correct. They bring my children.
This is nice. This Raggedy Ann, she is half diphtheria. This is what she
just
have.
Like me and most of my family.
It is. She must be strong, like bull.
This sounds uplifting.
So by the time it got to Broadway for its very, very short run, they retooled it, of course, because nobody wants to see Raggedy Ann be seduced through a bone forest. But I just thought that was so crazy that in 1986 we had Raggedy Ann the musical, which nobody has heard any of it of. But dear listeners of Theater Countdown, in this moment, you're going to hear some. So, Chris, if you would be so kind, this is Raggedy Ann the musical. I mean, it's kind of beautiful.
They sound great. I mean,
They
they're doing
sound
little
gorgeous.
charactery voices. For a hot second,
Yeah.
I thought that was Carolee Carmello that came in the back. I was like, Carolee Carmello was in this?
God, and she doesn't even put it on her resume. Although she's in
Scandalous
some
made it on
flops.
her resume?
Yeah. So Raggedy Ann ran on Broadway for 5 performances,
Whoa. Oh.
even when it was made nicer. But big hit in Moscow. Who knew?
Hey, there you go.
You're
So
up.
my turn now. Okay, so my number 9, now that I've already cheated and done 10 A and B, because my number 10 was just Angela Lansbury, the musical. So this one is one, again, that I saw that I had the best time at this show. It was called The Last Ship. It was Sting's musical. I saw it when it opened. It did not do well. And so to sort of try and salvage it, Sting went into the musical and starred in it. And it was him and Rachel Tucker, who, if you don't know Rachel Tucker, she did Come From Away in the West End. And on Broadway, she's one of the more famous Elphabas. She just did Sunset Boulevard with Nicole Scherzinger. Rachel Tucker is brilliant. So The Last Ship, it's based on one of Sting's albums, his 1991 album, The Soul Cages. And it's about his own childhood experiences, mostly about him and his relationship with his father, who's an engineer, and about this little town that was like a shipbuilding town in the UK. And the industry has left, and they're building their last ship to save the town. And as far as I can tell, I mean, I even had a summary in front of me, and even the premise is like, doesn't really make sense. And I remember leaving that show going, I have no clue what just happened. And Sting, one thing I love about Sting is you can't understand a word that man says. So the whole musical was like, but with like really great Celtic music underneath it. But honestly, I walked out of it, I was like, I couldn't tell you what just happened, but I had the best time. And that was one like early days where they used projections. Before a lot of shows were doing that. So, real quick, just to say, so the show opened in 2014. It ran for roughly 100 performances. So not a super long run, but at the Broadway Theater, famously one of the large ones. But yeah, I remember thinking the visuals were so cool. They built that ship, I think, out of every material known to man. I think at one point it was made out of wood, and then it was steel. And a priest sacrificed his life at one point for it. It was so impossible to follow, but yet I walked out of that going, I had a great time. So that's why it's in there, because it stuck with me. And I remember thinking, I didn't know who Rachel Tucker was at the time, but I was thinking, man, that woman can sing. So and I have a special place in my heart for Sting because The Police was the first concert I ever saw. They did a big tour and I was in Dublin and they played Croke Park. And my friend and I went, we were right in the front row and it like blew my mind. So I think I was just so excited to see him on Broadway. So The Last Ship, even though it was a big old flop, it has a special place in my heart and I had a great time at that show.
You know, it's Flopsy McFlopperson when you put a huge A-list icon music star who not only wrote the show, which should give it some ticket buying power, but also steps in to star in the show.
Yeah.
And
another one that should have worked.
And still nobody's
like,
buying tickets.
I know, like John Logan wrote the book for it. And for those of you who don't know, he wrote that play Red, which is really amazing. He also wrote the movies Gladiator, Avatar, Hugo. He adapted the Sweeney Todd movie. Like John Logan is an amazing writer. And again, you're like, what is the show about?
What happened? I love it. It's made of wood. It's made of steel. They started stapling bologna sandwiches together, and then the priest kills himself.
Yeah. None of it could float. I think the ship sinks too. Like, as I recall. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure the ship never even takes sail.
That's a metaphor.
It might have sailed, but maybe for a minute. I don't know. Anyway, but it was a great experience. Happy memories.
Oh my gosh, let's listen to some of that now.
Yeah, like Chris, whichever song appeals to you, just close your eyes and pick one.
Wow, this sounds Celtic.
My name is Jackie White, and I'm foreman of the yard. And you don't mess with Jackie on this quayside.
No, you don't.
I'm as hard as iron plate. Woe betide you if you're late. When we have to push the boat out on a spring tide. Now you could die and hope for heaven, but you'd need to work your shift, and I'd expect yous all to back us to the hilt. And if St. Peter at his gate were to ask you why you're late, why you tell him that you had to get a ship built. We've built battleships and cruisers for
Yeah, it's
Her
about a ship.
Majesty the Queen, super tankers for Onassis, and all the classes in between. We've built
And
the
they're there.
greatest shipping tonnage that the
Those guys
world
are there.
has ever seen. And the only life we've known is in the shipyard.
It couldn't be more clear, people. It's about the ship. The guys
the
are there.
last
They're in the
ship.
shipyard. It's the last one.
He's at the gate. Don't be late.
Yeah.
And,
I
that
think
was
he
the
said
other thing.
that
Some
one
of
of
the
the guys-
accents. Oh.
I think he said that one of the guys there was formatively delayed or something, which sounds very intriguing.
Yeah.
I
but
need to bone up.
yeah, and I'm a real sucker for a real like sea shanty type of song. So again, this was right up my alley.
Oh my gosh, I never saw The Last Ship.
Wow, you're missing out. Go to
But
the
it's always
Lincoln Center
fun when they-
Library.
When the writers jump into the show, like Billy Joe Armstrong was like jumped in a couple times at American Idiot.
Yeah.
Who else has done that? Who else has like written there? Oh, Sarah Bareilles, but of course
Sarah
that
Bareilles.
certainly isn't a flop.
Yeah. Lin-Manuel and that little show called Hamilton, I think.
Yeah, he likes to jump in there too.
Yeah.
But interesting about though, he became famous for the show that he was in. He wasn't famous, wrote the show, and then was in it.
Sort of went the other way around.
Okay. Well received. All right, I'm going in. Number 8. I think I'll be surprised if this isn't on your list. This is kind of epic floppery. I'm going to 2008 now, my friends, and I am giving you Glory Days. Glory Days, 2008. It opened and closed on the same night.
No.
So it did an out-of-town tryout. It was written by Nick Blaemire and Jake Gardner. Nick Blaemire is like a consummate Broadway working actor, an incredible singer-songwriter. He's kind of like a Renaissance man. So Nick Blaemire, if you're listening to this, we salute you. If you want to hear Nick Blaemire, my theater geek brain tells me that on the concept recording of the SpongeBob musical, he's the voice of Plankton. On the recording, even though Wes Taylor did it on Broadway. But he's like super talented. It's like a buddy musical where like these college friends get together and they reminisce about their college days and try to get together for one last hurrah. And here's the funny thing about it. It did an out of town in DC, got rave reviews. So of course the producers were like, let's take it to Broadway. And by the time they got there, opening night was closing night.
Oh.
But what's interesting about Glory Days is some of the cast. Andrew Call, who is a big Broadway leading man who's been recently in Little Shop and was the original Altar Boys central figure, does a lot of stuff. Jesse J.P. Johnson, who's been in Wicked for ages and ages and is part of that boy band Brunch Guys boy band project. And Alex Brightman was a swing. So Alex Brightman's Broadway debut, technically, although he never got to go on, obviously, was in Glory Days. But Glory Days has a happy ending in that since it opened and closed on the same night in 2008, there have been over 50 productions produced worldwide. Like even in Asia, there was like an Asian pop superstar who wanted to star in Glory Days because the music's awesome. You wanted me to prove it? Okay, here's some Glory Days.
Watching us grow, man, I miss those. Man, I miss those good old glory type. Man, I miss those good old glory type days.
Glory Days.
Glory Days.
Number 8.
Number 8, Glory Days. Oh, my turn. My number 8?
You're in number 8.
Oh, my goodness. Here we go.
What you got?
Okay, so,
Catherine
Sorry,
Hepburn's here.
I was just thinking of my glory days. Did you know my first Academy Award was for Morning Glory, a film that no one saw?
See? More proof that flops can get great things.
There you go. She was in a couple of flops now that I think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Catherine Hepburn. Yeah, she did a couple. Did Coco do what? Coco. Chanel.
Yeah, the Coco Chanel musical was Catherine Hepburn.
Yeah, she had another one too. Anyway, but that Coco is not my number 8. It is Once Upon a One More Time. Which is a real shame that she did not star in it. So Once Upon a One More Time, which was from this past year. It was the Britney Spears musical.
Yeah.
Starring a lot of people, but one of my personal favorites.
Starring a lot of people.
Starring people. One of my favorites, though, Jennifer Samard.
Yes.
So this is another one again that I know it was not a perfect show, but I saw it with my sister and we had the best time at this show. Now, for people who didn't see it, it's all Britney Spears songs, but it's behind the scenes of all the fairy tale princesses in like fairy tale land. And Cinderella discovers feminism, and she becomes this radical person that is changing the fairy tale land. And her friends Snow White, Rapunzel, and all of them discover, the feminine mystique. It's fascinating. But it had a lot of very funny moments. It did not run for very long, but the best was it was worth the price. The cast was so committed. It was one of those you could tell like they were having the best time, right? And I think they all knew exactly what they were doing. And like Justin Guarini was so funny. Like
I'm so there with you. Justin Guarini was the show as far as I was concerned. He was singing amazingly. He was dancing his little buns off. He was a great comic actor.
And he was hysterical.
Yeah.
I laughed. I had a great time. And then when Jennifer Simard, because you could see the whole show, she was like, I don't know why I'm here. And she was doing this weird kind of like Jennifer Coolidge accent. And then when she did Toxic, and she just casually walked up and down that stage, holding her like dragon's tail dress, and just sang the absolute, sang her face off. Like it was, that alone was worth the price of admission. But yeah, I that was one of those, I know the show did not do well, but my sister and I is one of those wonderful sibling nights that we will never forget. Like such a great time.
Those are so important, right? In theater, like I have, for me, like family-wise, Book of Mormon is that for me because, well, I grew up in Utah, but I saw Book of Mormon on Broadway with my sister. Oh. So, like, the jokes and the inside jokery of it all hit so hard, and it was just such a really beautiful bonding moment for us, too, to share that. I loved that. I loved Once Upon a One More Time as well. I had a great time. I thought it knew exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know when it was coming out, like, how do you judge if it's going to be successful or not? Like, I don't know if people want to hear Britney Spears songs on a Broadway stage. I just don't know.
Yeah.
This could be huge or it could not be.
I think they need to do another Britney musical, but call it Lucky. And it's about a girl named Lucky. She's a star who cries in her lonely heart thinking. And it's kind of sadly parallel to Britney Spears. That's what I think they should do next. It's just my 2 cents. But I did thoroughly enjoy this one.
Yeah. Well played. Wait, can we I need a number on that. I need to know.
Oh, can we do a little bit of Toxic? Can we just do a little bit, like the very end, when she
Toxic.
just...
Wild. Yeah.
She just growls.
All right.
7.
Here's a flop I absolutely did see. And I have very strong feelings about that I will share with you. My number 7 flop is Wonderland. Wonderland, Frank Wildhorn musical based on Alice in Wonderland. Stop trying to make Alice in Wonderland happen is my personal opinion on that. We don't need any more Alice in Wonderland musicals. I know that people are still out there writing them, but as far as I'm concerned, we don't need any more Peter Pan Alice in Wonderland musicals. Mm-hmm. Wonderland ran for 1 month at the Marriott Marquis Theater. It had 2 out-of-town tryouts in Florida and also in Texas. Rotating cast, Frank Wildhorn likes to cast his muses. So it was originally a vehicle, in the day it was Linda Eder, right? Mm-hmm. And they were married, and thank you Frank Wildhorn for the gift that is Linda Eder. But then he was engaged to a lady named Brandy Burkhart, and she was supposed to do it. Titus Burgess was in it out of town as the caterpillar.
That's right.
And he chose to leave the show, is my understanding from his take on it, because he did not think it was very good. The Broadway production starred Janet DeCall, Karen Mason, who was a huge standout and was amazing, and Kate Shindle was the Mad Hatter, Kate Shindle, who's the president of Actors Equity Association, recently toured with Fun Home on the national tour, who's like a crazy talent and was Miss America. Like literally won Miss America. So how about that?
Cool. All right.
But I will tell you, so it ran for a month. I did see the show. If I like everything, guys. I do. I like everything. I'm a theater. I carry pom-poms in my purse. I like everything. And, you know, generally I know a lot of people in the shows that I'm seeing, and sometimes I'm sitting close. And this was really hard to sit through. And the only thing I can say about it is it just seemed like a bunch of rich old white men trying to make really current millennial jokes is what it ended up being. And it was so off-putting.
Oh, no.
And I almost left intermission, but I didn't because I felt guilty. And there's some beautiful songs in it because Frank Wildhorn always writes beautiful songs. And I am a Jekyll and Hyde lover from way back when. And I will still listen to Jekyll and Hyde. And the greatest recording of Jekyll and Hyde is with Anthony Warlow. Debate me on this. You can't. And,
I agree with you on that wholeheartedly. 100,000%. Anthony Warlow.
Woo!
He
Holy
could
moly.
sing anything and it
He's
would be
the best.
perfect.
And what has he done on Broadway? He's played Daddy Warbucks in Annie. That's it.
Because he got sick.
He got what? When, what
I
happened
want to
to
say
him?
I think he had cancer. He went back to Australia. Yeah, he didn't work for a long time. And he does a lot of,
He's huge in Australia. Mm-hmm. He does all the big roles. I love Anthony Warlow. But Wonderland was just a miss. And I'm going to play the song that I think drives my point home, that it's just kind of unwatchable, in my opinion. So we're going to listen to Welcome to Wonderland from Wonderland.
Welcome to Wonderland.
Does your head hurt? It's relentless!
Have you seen someone looking like a queen, sharpening a guillotine? Probably just as well. She's capricious as could be, lopping heads off by decree. This week's Summer 43, cutting them pell-mell. What a party hasn't started snowing. Everyone not coming will be gone.
They're the same as always. Close the borders. Would she be the one you know?
Tin Man Lion or Scarecrow? Wait, that's from a different show.
Please start making sense.
Have you seen my walrus deer? Big mustache that's down to here.
Made the oysters disappear.
Claiming self-defense.
I think I'm dreaming.
The only one who wants to rip the skin from my bones, it's an assault on your senses. And I remember that the cast, all of the cast, all the ensemble, men, women, everybody, are all dressed in the signature Alice costume. So everybody was Alice during that number. And it's just, welcome to Wonderland. It's just, whew. I like everything, my friends. This one I didn't like. And it was a flop, and I think it deserved to be. Now, bear in mind, I am a huge Frank Wildhorn fan. So let it be known. I think we should do, because there are other beautiful songs, we'll do another countdown where we'll do the best songs from the worst musicals.
Ooh.
I think that we should do that as a list coming
That's
up.
fun.
Best songs from worst musicals, because Wonderland will have some in there. The other interesting thing to me about Wonderland is it was Hilferty, Susan Hilferty, who was the Tony-winning costume designer for Wicked, also designed the costumes for Wonderland, and they were not far apart. And she copied her own designs, like all of the blue and white Shiz University stuff. That's like all cut, like all like asymmetrical. She repeated that on this like boy band and all these school people in that, and then like the Queen of Hearts costumes were exactly the same as Madame Morrible's kind of thing. It was really interesting. So 7 Wonderland flop.
Nice. Okay, so my
Too dark?
number.
Have I gone too dark?
No. Also, I went to a place where I was like, is it okay to like if you're pilfering from yourself?
Great. I mean, sure.
If she just sort of is like regurgitating a design that she was like, this one was cut from Wicked, so I'm just going to toss it in Wonderland. Like, I mean, cash the check. You know?
Sure. And a fairy tale is a fairy tale. So you know, Oz Wonderland. It's all got to be kind of askew.
Yeah.
And be like a twist on things we know. Mm-hmm. But it looked real similar.
Oof. Well, I am with you though on we got to stop with the Alice in Wonderland adaptations. Like I think we just need to accept it. Although I said that about Orpheus, and then now we have Hadestown. So I was in an Orpheus production again that tried. I've been in so many ones that tried. And that's, I remember like there was so many of those floating around and nobody could figure it out. But then Hadestown, they did. So who knows?
I will say for Alice in Wonderland, if you want your money's worth in an Alice in Wonderland musical experience, you need to go back to the miniseries from the early 90s that was on TV that had Carol Channing and Gillian. And it's a musical, and Sammy Davis Jr. And John Stamos for some reason, and Kate Burton, and Sid Caesar, and all sorts of crazy, like, Love Boat-style celebrities in there. And it's a two-parter, and it's wild and wonderful.
That
you can find it.
Gave me, I haven't seen it since I was a kid, and it gave me nightmares for years. But that has that famous Carol Channing, that like jam tomorrow, jam yesterday, but never ever jam today.
Look that up, friends. Look that one up. Because that is a wild ride.
It is a bop. Good old
Steve and Edie are in it. It's wild.
There's a dragon at one point, as I recall.
There's the Jabberwocky.
I'm just trying to remember my nightmares.
The Jabberwocky. The lightning happens and the white knight and everybody's running around the castle and nobody knows where each other are and the Jabberwocky's kind of slimy and he's scary.
Oh,
okay.
God.
I'm gonna go see my therapist.
That literally gave me nightmares for many years. Okay,
Go
so my number 7, again, because I think, again, I did this wrong. Now I'm excited to like go back and revisit. So my number 7 is Chaplin, the musical.
Oh, yeah.
So, and also that was a split second. Chaplin was number 6, but it literally just in this moment got bumped up. So Chaplin opened on Broadway in 2012, I believe. 2012. It was at La Jolla 2010, 2012 on Broadway, starring Rob McClure. It gave us Rob McClure, which up to this sort of like made him a star. Jen Colella, again, if you think about like Angela Lansbury had a lot of flops. Let's talk about Jen Colella, who poor thing. She's like Arjun. Like, what's that great Dorothy Loudon quote when she won her Tony for Annie? And she was like, "I think my friends were just so excited to see me in a show that ran." I feel like that was Jen Colella in Come From Away because she had just like Hands on a Hard Body and Chaplin, like Homegirl could not catch a break. Urban Cowboy. But so I saw Chaplin. I thought Chaplin was really cool. So if you haven't seen it, which many people have not, it's about Charlie Chaplin. Spoiler. And they did the show in black and white, which I thought was very cool. And they did it very well. Like the costumes, the lighting design, the set, it all was in black and white, which I thought was interesting. There's some really great music in it. And I will say, like, I actually used 2 songs from the show, like, are in my, like, audition book. There's one called, now I can't even think of them, and they're in my book. Where Are All the People? It's his big 11 o'clock number, and it's actually a really great song. And then another one called If I Left London. But it was a flawed show. But yeah, if you were an old movie buff, it was kind of fun. And it was so stylized, but very clearly just not for everybody, you know?
I think the other thing that was cool about Chaplin is that came out of kind of the early days of NYMF, of the New York Musical Theater Festival. It was a show that was kind of developed and started there.
Oh.
Right? Because like Altar Boys came from NYMF, and Chaplin was another one of those shows that kind of got put out into the world via the festival and then was able to, they were like, get it on Broadway, it's good.
Yeah, and like Warren Carlyle directed it. It had a good team.
Yeah.
But yeah. Wait, do you want to listen to hear some of Where Are All the People?
Well,
find that one.
Yeah, it's either that or go back to the Jen Colella of it all and do All Falls Down.
Oh, All Falls Down. Okay, Chris, this is it. I mean, whichever one you prefer. If you want a ballad or if you want Jen Colella just being an amazing Hedda Hopper.
Well, I think the choice has already been made. Here we go.
Choice has already been made.
Hey there, so go ahead and snap me. don't return my call and build your house on top of Easy Street. But what you're gonna do when it all falls down? 'Cause I let a little rumor spread. What you gonna do if I change the name of the person sleeping in your bed? What you gonna do when I tell the tale that makes the country turn its head? Just a little gossip and just a little lie. I'll simply say the little tramp is just a little spy. And what's he gonna do when it all falls down?
Woo!
Mr. Chaplin, well, you're
That's a song, kids.
Oh my God.
That's a show too.
And going
right there.
full villain. She was like, don't you worry, guys, I'm going to be a bad guy. And like, she went for it. And then she riffs at the end where you're just like, what are you doing? But I love it.
I hereby ordain this podcast, Jen Colella Stancast.
Yes.
Jen Colella for president, Jen Colella for queen, Jen Colella for prime minister, all of it.
Yeah. And I got to say, Rob McClure's Chaplin, his physicality in that show was unbelievable. I'm a little sad he didn't win a Tony Forks. He was so good.
That was his first Tony nomination.
Yeah.
He got Tony nominated for that.
Yeah.
I love the black and white thing, though, too.
It was
Didn't
cool.
they do that with City of Angels?
Yes. Oh, my God. I saw a production of City of Angels in London at the Donmar.
In London.
Where they did half in black and white, half in color, and it
so
would
jealous.
move. Oh, it was so cool.
Right, they were talking about bringing that to Broadway.
I know. I just don't think we have a space for it. We have nothing like, we don't have a space like the Donmar. I don't think we could do it here. Because it's so small and intimate. It would have to be in an off-Broadway space. But it was very cool.
Why not, though? No World Stages exists, people.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Okay.
Give us City of Angels in black and white and color, you cowards. All right, this brings me to number 6, which will end our list for today,
Yes.
at least my side of it. This is a deep dig, a deep dive, which is kind of off the beaten path. And of course, I haven't seen it either, but it's another one that I'm like, I can't believe this exists. And there is a musical, my friends. It's out there, and it's called It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman. Mm-hmm. Now, when I knew that this musical existed, and when I would hear about it, I was like, oh, what a wonderful metaphor. Like, oh, this has got to be about some kid who like finds his inner strength and power, and he always dreamed of being Superman. No, my friends, this is the Superman musical. In the same way that the Spider-Man musical was the Spider-Man musical, and the Batman musical that we will never get to see.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that? Did you know there was a Batman musical?
No.
There was a Batman musical that was written, get ready for it, put on your Pampers. It was written by Jim Steinman, who wrote all of Meatloaf's music and Bonnie Tyler's stuff and Dance of the Vampires. And he wrote an entire Batman musical. I think that there's some YouTubery of it somewhere where you can hear some of the songs. But one of the songs is like called Catwoman's Lament. But it's a full-blown, like, super dark Batman musical.
Oh my God.
But now
Patrick
he's dead.
Page needs to voice that. Be like, I'm Batman.
I'm totally. We're gonna find that. I'm gonna find that and play that for you all on a bonus episode somewhere.
Cool.
But this was like a literal, like, this is a musical about Superman and Clark Kent kind of situation. Had a couple snazzy tunes. This was in 1966. And another person that you were talking about, Michael, that like in the same way that Angela Lansbury, who is Tony Award-winning record holder and the mother of all great theater actresses of all time, has this like chain of flops and then these massive hits to her name. Harold Prince has his fair share.
Yeah.
Hal Prince is attached to a lot of stuff, as I was looking through, that just didn't go so well. Mm-hmm. And one of those is It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman, which in all intents and purposes in 1966 probably should have been a thing, right? I need to like find my notes on this one because I need to, hold on. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman. Let's see, who wrote it? Yeah. The book was by David Newman and Robert Benton, who would later write the screenplay to the Superman movie.
What?
The score was by Charles Strauss.
Oh.
Which is
wow.
completely nutty. And Linda Lavin was in it.
Mm-hmm. She's Lois Lane, right?
I know. She wasn't Lois Lane.
No?
Patricia Mannon was Lois Lane, which seems like a total waste of Linda Lavin, if you ask me.
That's a shame of just like lulz. I mean, that would have been such wonderful, like an alliterative experience with that. Linda Lavin is Lois Lane.
Yeah, absolutely. I love alliteration. Did you know?
No, but I'm so glad to know.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm trying to look right here to tell you how many. It closed after 3.5 months. It was well reviewed, but audiences didn't like it. But there is apparently a reason for that. At the time, it cost, at 1966, the show budget was $600,000. Think about that in terms of what that would be today. $600,000. So it was like the most expensive musical ever produced by 1996, making it the biggest flop of all time in 1966 that it only ran for 3 months. But the reasoning that I read, and listen, this is just the word on the street for It's a Bird, It's a Plane, Superman, is that was the same year that the campy classic Batman series came out on television. Do you remember that? Did you ever stay home sick from school and watch the cheesy, like, Adam West, Burt Ward Batman series where Eartha Kitt was Catwoman?
Of course, darling.
Yes.
Of course.
It's wild, and like every time they hit somebody, it would say, Biff!
Yeah.
Pow! Wham! It was so campy and so gay.
Yeah.
And like Batman's in like a full blue satin like trunk. 129 performances this musical ran.
Wow.
But so the reason that I read was that that was a really big hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But people were so taken with the Batman of it all that nobody cared enough to go see Superman in the theater.
Oh, no.
And apparently you're looking at 1966 type technology, whereas if you were to do, well, we know this from other shows that may end up on our list later on down the road, that, if you made a Superman musical today, you would fly the guy. Well, I think in 1960 you still have to fly the guy, but I don't think you can hide the ropes and harnesses in 1966.
No.
So apparently, from what I've read, they're like carting him around slowly on a rope as he's supposed to be flying. And the audiences were like, this doesn't do anything for me. It's just like slowly creaking across the stage on a big, thick brown rope, which... I want to see that show.
Oh my God, that sounds hysterical. It sounds like the group that did The Play That Goes Wrong, they have to do a version of this.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a Superman that went wrong.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, ran for 129 performances, Charles Strauss. But they did pay homage to the show, and we can do a listen to that because I think the most popular song from it was You've Got Possibilities.
Yes.
Which was featured in the Hal Prince Revue, Prince of Broadway, forgive me, that had an all-star cast. And Janet DeCall, who we mentioned earlier from Wonderland, does a bang-up You've Got Possibilities, which is worth a little bit of a listen now because it's just a hell of a song. And I may or may not have choreographed a competition dance to this for a school in upstate New York, which is to say that I absolutely specifically did, and there was a Superman reveal, and they flew him around the stage, probably more successfully than they did in the Broadway musical in 1966.
Can't wait for you to helm the revival of this show.
I mean, let's do dream casting. Who plays Superman of our Broadway actors? Who's playing Superman in the revival of It's a Bird, It's a Plane, Superman?
Ooh, who's got
Is it Jeremy Jordan, who was also in Supergirl, the series?
Corey Cott?
It's Corey Cott!
It's Corey Cott? He's got blue eyes, right? Is it like big blue eyes? He's so chiseled and handsome.
In my daydreams, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's got like cheekbones that could slice paper, and he's also they just announced like this week that he's coming back to Broadway, starring in the Huey Lewis musical.
Yes, I think that's why he was at the top of my the tip of my brain, because I just saw that.
Yeah. Did you ever see? Derek Klena would be the other one.
Derek Klena.
They're all in rotation. Who's like?
And Derek already sort of runs everywhere.
Matt Doyle.
Matt Doyle would be good. Or we just find.
You gotta remember, He's also got to be Clark Kent.
Yeah, well, I was
So
going
we
to say
got-
it would have been Cheyenne Jackson a little while
Right.
ago.
Right. Oh, I still can be. Cheyenne, hit us up on the socials and let us
Yeah.
know if you want to be in our Matt Cavanaugh back in the day. If you want to be in our revival
Oh
of
my
It's
God,
a
Matt
Bird, It's a Plane, It's
Kavanaugh,
Superman.
yeah.
Who else is that? Yeah.
No, we find an unknown. This is where we do a reality show to find our Superman, and then cast it that way.
All right. Friends, theater obsessed friends. Who do you want to play Superman? Tell
Yes,
us.
let us know.
Hit us,
Including
hit us with
you.
it. I want to, and then
Me.
Who's Lex Luthor? I wonder. I don't know
Ooh,
if Lex Luthor is in.
what's his name? Who's in Back to the Future right now? Who is in The Producers? Why am I blanking on his name? Big Broadway star. He did Young Frankenstein. He was the star of that.
Oh, Roger Bart.
Roger Bart.
Absolutely, Roger Bart.
Roger or Jennifer Samard is Lex Luthor.
Jennifer Samard is Lex Luthor, the role she was born to play.
Exactly.
It's just so crazy that this musical exists to me.
Yeah.
They did a stage concert version of it in 2013 at City Center Encores, but Will Swenson was in that.
I can see that.
Interesting.
Oh my God,
all
and
right, let's go
Audra
into-
is Lois Lane.
Audra McDonald is Lois Lane. Now, come on. Now we're really mucking stuff up. We don't even care.
But how fun would that be?
It'd be so fun. I mean, anything. She could be Superman.
That's true. I can't wait for her Mama Rose.
What do we know about that?
I just
Is
hear
that
rumor mill,
real?
but I saw her do Rose's Turn at Carnegie Hall, and it was unbelievable.
All right, hit it, Chris.
Up and away, and Miss Lane, you say that will always be me. Listen up, Lois, that will always be me.
All right. Now, my friend, you got to bring us home now.
All right, number 6. And again, I did a quick rearrange. This was higher up, but now I've rethought how I'm going to do the top 5. So this has been bumped down a little bit. But before I share my stunning conclusion, just a quick reminder, everybody, to subscribe wherever you are listening, wherever you get your podcasts. Tell your friends, family, and other theater enthusiasts to check us out. And as we said before, rate and review. We'll probably read the reviews, probably in fun accents, I'll say, or we'll sing them.
It stands to reason.
Yeah, so don't worry, they'll be wildly
You know what would be
entertaining.
fun?
What?
We could challenge each other to have to read the reviews that are posted to, and you can even request this in your review, to the show tune melody of your choice.
That's fun. And also, you could request the accent in which you want to hear it. You could leave the review and then just afterwards just put in Russian, like
Right.
Icelandic.
Yeah.
We'll just do full Bjork.
Bozos, I think these guys are bozos. They don't know what they're talking about, and I think that they're gay. We could do it like that. Hit us
Yeah.
up. We're not afraid of you.
So we will do that. So do that. Leave those reviews. Keep listening, subscribing. Again, look for what you said about Patreon earlier. We're going to have waiting rooms. So go back to the beginning, listen to that intro again, and sign up for all of those things.
Do the Patreon, $5 a month. It's
Yeah.
super, super cheap, and the meetup parties are going to be a blast.
Yes. Okay, so as it's a siren is going by right now.
New York City,
man. I'm in Jersey City. I know. I'm New York adjacent.
You shouldn't tell people that.
I know. All my New York friends tell me that. They're like, Michael, just shh.
Why? They're so snobby. My boyfriend gets really riled up about it, about the neighborhoodism that exists around being in New York City, because he lives in Queens and I gotta go to Queens sometimes, or we'll get divorced apparently, and he gets very snooty. We're very snooty about it.
Okay, well, speaking of snooty things.
Yes.
This one involves a famously snooty person. No, this was another flop that I had so much fun watching. It was Diana the Musical. It feels like a good one to end on for this episode, right?
It feels so good.
Diana the Musical, which opened in 2021. It ran for, I believe, 33 performances. and then was
Each one
filmed
more
on
delicious than the last.
It was filmed on Netflix for some reason. So you can go watch it on Netflix. It is there. It is obviously, again, a story about Princess Diana from when she first entered the royal family picture to her death. They tried to go, someone was like, let's do a Vita. And they tried to do it about Diana. Now, the show was so wonderfully unhinged. I had the best time watching it. Like, technically, it had a lot going for it. The sets were actually really cool. The lighting design was incredible. The costumes, the quick changes in that. When she did that, she has a song called Pretty Pretty Dress, which is so weird and amazing, which I run to Pretty Pretty Dress.
100%, I do too.
It's such a good song.
It's such a good workout pop.
And the amount of, like, when they just try and do best of all of Diana's outfits in that one song.
And then there's a moment where she, like, walks into the already standing wedding dress.
Yeah. Oh, that one during
that part.
I Will. Yeah. Which, did they, at royal weddings, did they say, not I do? They say, I will.
Yeah.
And who played Diana again?
Gina DeWall.
She also, again, talk about singing your face off. She is in the rafters that whole show, and she sounded amazing. That whole cast, I thought, like Judy Kay.
Judy Kay!
I get it. Where she played the queen and the gossip columnist. Like,
Barbara Cartland.
That show was so all over the place, but I had such fun.
Michael, I am so glad that we're doing this at the end of the episode.
Okay,
I share all of this with you.
Yeah.
I do. I'm obsessed with it. We did a best cast albums, which we'll have to redo with your thoughts in there, and because it always evolves in my mind. But our favorite cast albums of all time, and Diana was like in my bonus episode 11 to 15, the Diana cast album, because my truth is that I listen to it all the time.
Same.
A pretty, pretty girl
in a pretty, pretty dress. Yeah, like,
can set the world on fire. Oh. Come on.
Look at, I mean, if I didn't already adore you. But yeah, I loved every second of that show because truly, it does make you feel a little bit bad because also I'm a big Princess Diana fan and you're like, a little bit of me was like, you deserve better. But like, it was very well intentioned. But oh my God.
You know what I think?
The paparazziography. Like,
that's what I was doing with
yeah, it's like they saw Harry Potter and they're like, we're going to do that, but with trench coats.
Right. That ensemble also, hardest working ensemble in any show I've ever seen. Because
1,000%.
They are like sick and dying of AIDS. And they're like, there's that crazy scene where she plays the cello for no reason out of nowhere.
Oh, and when they first meet when she goes to meet the people and they all had to be Welsh and these poor people had to do Welsh accents, which even Welsh people can barely do Welsh accents. So
right, because they're like, wait, what would Shirley Bassey do? I don't know.
I mean, I ask myself that every day, and she just says, "I am what I am." But you're right. That ensemble had to do so many different things, and they also had to wear 400 costumes apiece.
Oh my God.
But yeah.
And you know, it is. I think the creative team, whoever it was, I think that they were, and I'm sure we can all look this up.
Isn't it the folks who wrote Come From Away? Like,
no, definitely not.
No,
I will not have
music and lyrics.
No.
Okay.
I think it's Joe DiPietro, who did Memphis.
Oh,
But I think also there was somebody from a rock band. There was
David Bryan from Bon Jovi.
So I think that they sonically, it almost sounds like they were going for the Who's Tommy.
Yeah, but with
certain aspects.
Yeah, and a little bit of a Vita sprinkled on there.
I think that they were taking what they were doing very seriously, and when I saw it right before it closed, it had turned into the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and the audience was talking back to the stage.
Great.
Like anytime Charles would come out, the whole audience would go boo. And then there's that line, she's like, serves me right for marrying a Scorpio. And the whole audience was like, yeah, fuck Scorpios. It was just insane. It was full tackle musical theater. And I talked to my friends in the show at intermission, and I was like, did you guys know this was going to be audience participation? And they're like, it just kind of developed that way. And they're like, and we're okay with it because it's fun. except for one person, who of course was the British actor who was playing Charles, and he was. Because I think he was the butt of a lot of it, because people were like yelling at him outwardly from the house, which you shouldn't do in the theater, my young theater friends.
No, but that's
not your time to sing.
But the level of camp on that show was just magical.
Oh my God.
And that one, it didn't close because of COVID though, right? That one just closed.
Oh yeah, it just closed.
Yeah,
I think they got death threats in the form of reviews.
Yeah, it got a lot of Razzies. The Netflix film was nominated for like I think 9 or 10 Razzies.
Yeah, but I'm gonna
such
watch it
fun.
again.
But again, you're right. That soundtrack, those songs are fun, and they're crazy, but they're fun.
And they're poppy too. Like they're just really good earworms.
Oh God, yeah.
There's a song called the
the fuck you dress.
Yes, the fuck you
And when
dress.
the queen goes the fuckity 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 fuck dress, like
she goes dress.
Yeah.
If you won't swear, it's your voice cracks.
Say it.
Yeah. Oh, it's wild.
Watching Judy Kay do that, she was like a little puppet. I was a little like, oh my God.
She's like, I've got 2 Tonys. What could go wrong? And then Erin Davey, who plays Camilla, who sounds so gorgeous.
And she took it so seriously. Like, I love Erin Davey, and one thing I love about Erin Davey is she always looks like she doesn't laugh. Like, I love her, but she's always so serious. Like, I remember seeing her in Grey Gardens, in Sideshow. Like, everything is like she's doing Chekhov. Including Diana, and she was fabulous in it.
I can't say that I know her, but I have met her, and I'm a really big fan. And when I have met her maybe a couple times, in meeting her and telling her how much you love her, it's a little stoic. It's a little like, yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
She's
Okay.
I'm a big fan of hers, I will say, and I thought she was fabulous as Camilla. She was so good.
Oh well, now we have to listen to some of it.
Yeah, is it Pretty Dressed? Do we need that one?
Absolutely.
She'll take on the monarchy.
She'll take on the monarchy and cause a royal mess. A pretty girl
in a dress.
Oh. Okay, well, I have worked up a sweat.
Same.
My calorie burn for this episode is 326, which is a new high for podcasting. Calorie burn. My friends, we're back. So happy to have Michael with us. So glad that you have all tuned in and are listening. As Michael said a moment ago, make sure that you are part of the conversation on our social media. Tell us what you think. $5 a month is nothing to join our Patreon and join the party, quite literally. We have so much planned for this season. Games, countdowns. We've got special blesseds. And those are blessed guests.
Yes.
Blessed. We've got special guests. So if you haven't subscribed, now is the time to do it. And we love you so much. Tell us what top 10 list you want us to tackle. Tell us what's in your list. And for now, we've just got to say so long, farewell. Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. Welcome once again to Michael, and we love you all so much. So get out there and see a show. Bye!
Bye!
A pretty girl
In a dress.